Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a Brilliant Businesses podcast. My name's Nick Bryant, and this morning I'm here with Suzanne Elsey. Morning, Suzanne.
Morning. How are you? I'm good, thank you.
Do we say Susie, Suzanne, or don't you mind?
Prefer Suzanne.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So Suzanne is the founder of Furnishing Interiors, which is a leading interior design agency. Been going for over 29 years?
Yeah.
Wow. And you've got a proven track record of achieving quicker property sales and also higher values for properties because of the interior design you do. Let's start with your story, Suzanne. Tell us how it all came about.
Yeah, sure. I started at the age of 15. I
Okay.
did work experience with an interior design company and started to do my A-levels in art, but felt that it wasn't the right direction for me to go in.
Okay.
And had a chat with them, and they took me on what would now be known as apprenticeship, but at the time, showing my age now, was YTS.
Yes, certainly.
So I basically learnt from them, worked there for 11 years and worked my way up the company.
Okay.
So I started at the age of 15 as a Saturday girl there, mixing paint on the Dulux paint
Right.
machine and cleaning the machine, all the way through to handling clients and designing projects for people.
Okay.
When I left, and left to move to other companies where they wanted to set up consulting within their companies. They didn't have it before.
Right.
So I did that for 2 companies. Had learnt loads from them, quite a lot of how not to do something, or the
Yes.
things I didn't feel were quite right for clients, so that I can put that into my practice.
Yeah.
And my dream from the age of 15 was always to have my own showroom with all the different schemes on display,
Yeah.
and helping as many people as possible be able to be comfortable in their home.
Okay. And was that a high street shop, or was that just
No, it wasn't actually. It was a converted barn.
Okay.
It was down lanes, and it wasn't probably the best spot from a walking past and looking in point of view, but that wasn't why I went for it. I needed storage. I was working for a couple of big developers at the time,
Yeah.
as one of their contractors, and we needed the storage space, so it was more to do with that.
Yeah.
And people would come by appointment to see us. But most of what we did was always going into people's homes.
Okay.
So that was really how the business was set up, because you need to see the lights, you need to see the layouts, you need to get a sense of people's personality.
Yeah. So do you have in stock like different sofas and stuff like that you can furnish? So
I
set
used
them up?
to when
Yeah.
I had the showroom. I did used to have that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Nice.
beds and all sorts of furniture and accessories and
Okay.
things like that.
So talk us through a typical project that you worked on.
So there was some great projects. One of my favourite projects was one that I did in Covent Garden,
Oh, right.
for a client of mine that I'd worked for on several occasions in their other home, which was more local to me. And basically they bought this split level apartment, and they knew they wanted to refurb it so they could live there, and it was very, very tight. It had been a rental property for a long time.
Okay.
And so I worked with them, I designed it all, and then I project managed the construction team that they brought in,
Right.
and worked alongside them to get the project finished.
Yeah.
And furnished it all the curtains, the blinds and everything. And they still have that property now and love it.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, we added a lot of value to that property when it was finished. And the thing I really love about it was we took the staircase out,
Okay.
because the way it was designed in the beginning was not particularly practical.
Yeah.
So I suggested we take the staircase out and have it so it turns the other way.
Okay.
And on doing so, we discovered an old staircase
Oh,
that
wow.
led downstairs.
Oh my God.
So we put a little hatch in, so they had like a little bit of a storage cupboard that they could use as like a wine cellar,
that's really
which I
cool.
just thought was so cool.
Yeah, that's really
Just
nice.
finding this like hidden gem, and when all the walls were stripped in the hallway, you could see it was in a fire,
Right.
because it was all black and charred.
Okay.
So you just sense the history of a building, which I love.
And if you never would have suggested changing
they wouldn't have.
They would have realised, would they?
No.
So you obviously worked a lot with builders and other tradesmen within that arena, which is obviously what if we talk about Link ID, which is the business you set up with Craig, and how that came about with you.
Yeah, so I started managing trades by accident, actually.
Okay.
It wasn't something I wanted to do. I was very happy doing the designs and consulting with the clients and then handing it over for them to find the people they wanted to use.
Yeah.
And I'd have people that I knew of that I could put forward names.
Okay.
But what I was getting increasingly was them coming back to me and saying, could you just give him a ring and ask him? I haven't had his quote or his invoice or... do you know when he's coming? So I, by default, ended up being that liaison between the client and the tradesperson. And then I had a client that was using multiple trades and she was getting in a bit of a mess with the finances and she was ringing me going, I'm sure I've paid this. And I was like, no, you paid that person?
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So it quite naturally progressed to me basically being the one person that the client dealt with, and I sorted everything else out because I could manage the money, I could make sure the job was finished before I paid them, and likewise the guys knew that I was going to pay them on time when they'd finished and done any snagging that was needed. So it worked for everybody.
It's almost like another skill set you've got on top of the interior design, isn't it?
It's like a translator, really.
Or mediator.
Like two sometimes. I think sometimes where it was particularly useful, and I think Craig has mentioned to me before that this helped him, is a builder or a tradesperson has a certain terminology and language in their head that makes sense. And a client is on such a different page. And I think what I'm quite good at is understanding both perspectives. And so I can literally translate what that means and what the consequences are. So in a way that they can understand. And I think most of the miscommunication between trades and clients occurs because there's an assumption someone understands you and they're too embarrassed to say they don't, or they think they understand but actually they don't understand. And I think that's where I've sort of been able to slot into the middle. Because
even like you were saying earlier, lingo, if you like, that builders may use,
jargon,
and the consumer or the person that's having the property developed doesn't understand that, and that could be a breakdown in communication. Therefore, people get cross and things fall apart, don't they?
And usually it's over the silly little things. A client expects every job to go smoothly all the time, whereas a contractor and people like myself know that actually that's less likely to happen, and happens in the minutest of cases. There's usually always something you have to deal with, get round, or there's options on how to do so, and it's working out what is the most cost effective, the best finish you're going to get, etc., to get over that problem. So I think it's managing expectation as well as communication.
Going back to your interior design skills, so have you always worked in just single properties? Have you done is it just single people's homes, just homes, or has it been other sort of?
No, I've worked with other developers where they've had like blocks, etc. So I would go in and do show flats where we literally, they've built it and we go in and do all of the show flats, so when people walk in they get that wow. I also work with clients who have their own property. I've
advised them on what the best thing to do.
Absolutely. I've also worked in a hotel. I've also done schools. So it's quite varied. I tend to prefer the residential hotel type work. Other developers, and doing show flats is great, but it's sort of like a standalone project that you do. I've also worked with developers to actually pick things like what skirting boards are they going to use, what doors are they going to use, and that sort of more just trying to think of the right word really, but the things that they need to put in there that they're not quite sure what goes together, etc.
Did you used to watch the old changing rooms and with Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen?
I did.
Did you ever see one and go, God, that's dreadful? I wouldn't have done it like that.
Quite a lot of times. Absolutely.
It makes good TV, but maybe not for.
I tell you that programme changed the whole landscape of interior design.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, and not necessarily for the better, but people's expectation that you can get a room done in 3 days, when actually they didn't even film it in 3 days. It was spanned 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
People expected a decorator or any trade person to go in and do that job like that.
Yeah, it made your life really difficult.
Happen.
Thanks very much for that, guys. So you've moved into forming this company with Craig, which we're going to talk about in a short while, called Link ID. It sounds like a great sort of synergy of both of your skills. If you started this business and you started working on clients, give us some examples of what you've been up to.
Within Link ID.
Yeah.
The way that sorry, I'll start again.
That's right.
The way the collaboration came about was interior design, and my furnishing interiors business was always in a luxury market.
Yeah.
So whenever you have any doubt in the economy or anything major going on that's being spoken about, people stop spending on the luxuries.
Yeah.
So the Brexit year really had a huge impact on my business. So I had work in the pipeline. I was expecting to have a real bumper year, and they announced the whole Brexit thing, and then they kept delaying it, etc.
Is that a fire alarm?
Sandy.
Oh, it's all right. That's all right. We cut that bit out.
Do you want me to start again?
Yeah. Oh no, let's just roll. It's fine. It was sorry, everyone. It was the fire alarm. We can't help it, can we?
So Brexit hit my business quite hard. I had 6 months of no work. I had to move out of my serviced office. Unfortunately, get rid of some amazing staff that I had working with me, and scale everything back. And I said to Craig, I think I'm going to have to go and get a job.
Oh my God.
And he said to me, you don't want to do that? And I went, no, I really don't want to do that.
No.
And so he said, what we need is a couple of investors, and we'll do what we want to do, which is you design it, I build it.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I quite like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go and ask some people.
Yeah.
So we asked family first. And we had 2 people that were happy to back us.
Okay.
So they were our first 2 investors.
Nice.
We then were looking for the right project, and Craig found that on an auction site.
Okay.
We went along and had to look at it. Happened to meet the owner who was hanging around next door. Went for a coffee and bought that building, or bought the plot of land so that we could do the building. And we'd started the company, got the property, got the investors, etc. And with 8 weeks, we'd started digging.
Wow.
So it happened quite fast, but it was absolutely the best thing that we've ever done, really.
Yeah, I mean, we're really exciting at that point, because you're going your way then, aren't you? And you're thinking, great, thank God we made this decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk a bit more about how that's all developed with both of you shortly. So thanks, Suzanne. That was great hearing your story and what you've been up to and how you got to where you are.
Thank you.
So all Suzanne's details, as is Craig's, will be underneath the podcast. If you want to get in touch, please get in touch. And we'll see you for another podcast soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.